In today's session, we're going to be talking about leaving money on the table and why you should be doing everything and using all the strategies in your toolbox to be able to monetize that lead. Just to let you know, this is sponsored by the Property Investor app, which is the UK's first property investment platform, which showcases all kinds of deals all over the UK. Whether you're looking for that below market value deal, that rent to rent deal, that lease option, or service accommodation opportunities, we've got them all in one place. By getting involved, you can literally go to our website, which is propertyinvestораpp.co.uk, or you can go to the App Store and type in Property Investor and download it from there. It will take you literally 2 minutes to download and register, and you'll see all these opportunities right in the palm of your hand. So let's get straight into it. Do you really know what I mean by leaving money on the table? When I say that, it's almost like saying, have you missed an opportunity? And we all do it. And I'm going to try and give you examples, live examples of how you've probably done this. And I'm hoping that you're going to reflect on this and say, yeah, you know what? That was me. And as a result, I should have done more. And let's start with the simple one. The simple one is really working with estate agents. How many of you now have been and seen a property? Let's just say that you've seen a property online like Rightmove, and you've potentially made an inquiry through the agent's website or through Rightmove, and you've not followed it up. Or you might have gone one step further and you've gone to a viewing and then not bothered following up, thinking the agent's going to call me. If they've got no interest, then we're going to go from there. Now, for me, this is almost detrimental if you're, it's really bad practice if you're not following up. And I say this in the nicest possible way. The reason why I say that is because you've done all the hard work. You've identified the property, you've potentially gone and done the viewing, which means that now you've invested some time and money into it. Now, for me, if you're going to that level of detail now and arranging a viewing and going to the viewing, you want to try and clinch the deal. There's no point going and view tens, hundreds of properties if you're not going to progress to the next stage, because in essence, that is window shopping. So let's get moving on. So scenario, let's just imagine you've been and viewed the property. Now you've called the agent and you've put forward an offer. Now just imagine that it's £100,000 purchase. You've put an offer, I don't know, let's say that you've been a little bit cheeky and you've put an offer of £85,000 in, hoping to get the property below market value. But at the time, there was multiple people at the viewing and you felt like you've been outbid. And you've kind of resigned to the fact that you're not going to buy the property, or you're not going to win the bid or to purchase the property. Now, you've got to remember that when you're buying property, and I say this all the time, that money is not always the motivation of the seller. So the first thing that I would suggest is that when you're speaking to the agent is identify who is the vendor, and more importantly, why they're selling. There's lots of reasons why I say that. It's because if a vendor is in, let's say, an old people's care home, their motivation is going to be different to someone that's looking to emigrate or looking to upscale, downscale, or whether they're going through a divorce, whatever it may be. There's so many different motivation levels, and therefore the offers can vary massively, and it will vary depending on whether it's a cash purchaser, whether it's a mortgage buyer, whether they're a first time buyer, and also the property type, whether the property is in need of modernisation, whether it's got any structural issues, whether the property is all ready to go and it's suitably purposed for a first-time buyer. There's lots of different scenarios. Now, the reason why I mention all these is because if you understand a little bit about the seller before you go to the viewing, you're pretty much ahead. You've given yourself a head start before you get to the viewing. So when I'm inquiring about a property, before I go to the viewing, I ask the agent, let's just imagine that this one's on with an agent. I ask the agent, okay, so coming to this viewing, can you tell me who's the vendor, or not who the vendor is, because they're never going to tell you that, but why is the vendor selling? And some of them might say, well, someone's just passed away, it's a probate, it's a family member selling the property. And say, okay, because then I can kind of get an indication of where we need to be. Now, after the viewing, I always put an offer in, regardless of whether I'm even interested in buying the property or not. And that may sound really strange to some of you, because you're thinking, well, why are you putting an offer in on a property that you've not really got an intention in buying? And the reason being is that the offer I put will depend on my level of interest in the property. So let's just imagine, I can give you examples now. There's one scenario where the agent pretty much not begged me, that's a bit rude, but they were really keen on me to go and view this bungalow on the other side of Cannock in the West Midlands. Now, I had had no intention of buying a bungalow in Cannock, but the agent was really keen for me to do something with it. And she goes, the owner had passed away and it was the kids and they just really wanted to get rid. And I've said that I've got no intention of buying a bungalow, but I'll tell you what, I'll make you an offer. The offer's not going to be high, but you know that in a couple of months' time, if you've got no other options, it will be there. And so the bungalow was on the market for 175 grand. Admittedly, I think I put an offer in of 130 grand, maybe even slightly less. It was about between 120 and 130 grand. And I thought there's no way they're going to sell me that bungalow for that kind of money. But anyway, we tracked it. When we talk about tracking it, we're talking about keeping up to date and just checking how our offer's getting along the way. Even if it comes back to a no, it's at least you can sit back and say, well, we asked the question every step of the way. So anyway, my offer was put forward. Let's just say it's 120,000. And then month one, nothing came back. We called them like once a fortnight and said, guys, have you had any other offers? What's the vendor said? The vendor wants to hold out for another few weeks. I said, okay, fine, no problem. And then after that, we had another couple of weeks. The vendor says they still wanted a little bit more time. I said, okay, fine. As long as we keep tracking it, that's fine. Now, pretty much 3 months later, the vendors came back to the agent and they said to me that they were happy to accept an offer, whether we'd consider renegotiating. And we went and met them. And eventually we came to an offer which was suitable for both parties. And again, this was a property that I had no intention of buying when we first went to view it. It was literally a case of the agent said they wanted an offer. We gave them an offer and it worked out well for both parties. The vendor got a sale. We purchased a property. Eventually, we kept that for my own portfolio. I refinanced it. I got my money back out and we go again and again and again. And I can talk to you about this multiple times where we put an offer in. It may not have been accepted immediately. And I know lots of property investors that they get a little bit disheartened when their property offer or let's say the offer that they put in gets rejected and they get a little bit disheartened. Don't get disheartened. Just keep tracking it because look at the stats as to what happens in the property market. Believe it or not, quite a large majority of properties fall through in the conveyancing process, which means that you've still got an opportunity during that process to pick up the pieces. And more importantly, it puts you in a bit more of a driving seat when it comes back to sit in your lap. And I've had this multiple times where let's just imagine we've put an offer in, our offer gets rejected, they accept a higher offer from another buyer, and that's fine. And what we said to the agent is if it's okay, and we'll just keep calling you, once a month or, once every few months, just to check, has it completed? How are you getting on? Have you come across any stumbling blocks? Is there something that we can do to quicken the process up? And it works really well because what we find is that out of every 5 properties, 2 of them will end up coming back to you and they'll say, you know what, okay, this one hasn't valued up or the purchaser has changed his mind, the purchaser can't get a mortgage, and there's lots of different reasons as to why properties fall through. The chain has fallen through. I get asked to pick up chains quite a lot and, it's not ideal, but obviously we're there for the property. And as a result, you can come in and then you can then negotiate on your price. So the price that you offered initially, is it still worth that price? Has it dropped in price? Has it increased in price? And again, you put forward what you would consider your price. And then you'll be surprised at how many times you will pick up deals. Now, here's a little tip for you. Now, you can create, or there are many CRM systems. So there's lots of systems out there where you can actually put the data into where you can then, it keeps reminding you to call the agent for that property. So I know that there's Podio, I know that there's Asana, there's quite a few other CRM systems and you've got to find one that works for you. I like something that's quite easy. Believe it or not, I actually use Google. And in there, I literally put the date that I viewed the property, the agent that I viewed with, so the name of the agent, the name of the estate agency, the phone number, the website address, and even the Rightmove link of the property. And I also put in how much I offered. So in there, I'll put that. And then as a backup, I almost create like a mini series of diary notes so that, let's just say I viewed it on the 1st of May. Now, if my offer's been rejected, let's just say my offer's rejected on the 4th of May and they've accepted an offer somewhere else on the 4th of May. Now, I will try and put in my diary, so towards the end of May, to call that agent again, just see how it's progressing, then perhaps middle of June, end of June. And then as a result, you'll see, and these just pop up in your diary every day, and you can do these calls whilst you're on the road, so you don't have to be sat in front of your computer. And it's really effective method of tracking. And then again, you can create a spreadsheet of this. Again, you can link it back to Google. I like Google because it's all very much all in one house. So you've got your Google spreadsheet, you've got your Google diary, etc., etc. And then off the back of that, it works really well. So I can then see, yes, I viewed it on the 1st, I put my offer in on the 4th, I called them on this date, they said it's still going through. I called them on this date, they said that the valuations happened. Call them on this date, the valuation's fallen through. Call them on this date, now I've got a second viewing. Off the back of that, my offer's now gone in. I've got a full almost like log of events of what's happened with that property, and you'll find how many deals fall through and how many you can pick up off the back burner. And the reason why agents actually kind of like this proactive approach is because, can you imagine that if you're an agent and you've got a property that's just fallen through, the last thing that you want to do is then go to the owner and say to them, sorry, this has got fallen through, we now have to start remarketing it, we then have to start doing all the viewings again, and then we have to start going through the process of offers and negotiations. Whereas if I'm the one that's been tracking it, and they could say, well, there's this one guy that's been consistently calling us and showing an interest, shall we give him a run? And 9 times out of 10 they're going to say yes. Will this speed up the process? And the answer is yes. So again, by doing this, you're putting yourself ahead of everything and giving yourself almost like a one-horse race. And I do this not only with estate agents, but also when we're doing direct to vendor marketing. So second part of it is direct to vendor marketing. So if we put leaflets out, we also then track that to see how's that going. So did we hear back from them if we sent the letter out on the 1st of May? When do we send the second letter out? When do we send the third letter out? And then what do we do to track that? Or did we make an offer on that property? Did they accept it? Did they not? Did they go with another company? How's that company performing? And again, if you can show your proactiveness by consistently speaking to the vendor and say to them, guys, we're still here, we're still happy to help. And by the way, if you came with us, it would have been done by now. You know, that this just kind of speaks volumes. And more importantly, it just shows a level of professionalism as well. So there's lots of reasons for you to be tracking your activity, and more importantly, the offers that you make, because you will find that the ones that are not performing with their current providers will always come back to you first. Does that kind of make sense? Also, one that I'll throw this little golden nugget in there as well. So far we're talking about estate agents, we're talking about direct to vendor. The other one is also about planning. So how many of you have ever put it in a planning application and you've not really tracked the process, or if you're looking at an application, you've not really followed it through? And the reason why I say that is because there's no guarantee that a planning application is going to get approved. There's a chance that it could get approved. There's a chance that it could be refused. So you want to be looking at either the ones that have been approved so that you can potentially look to either acquire off the owner or do something with, or if you're looking for the ones that are going to get refused, how you can add value further. And again, another massive strategy that I did many years ago and got many levels of success. So when I had a house building company, we used to pick up all of our direct to vendor land deals, believe it or not, off the planning portals. So again, that was a big tracking system, and off the back of that tracking system, we then used to go off and do large land assembly deals. So massive value in that, and also massive profit margins in that if you can get it right, but you have to spend the time. All the things that I've spoken to you about in today's session is time consuming, but you get it right and you spend the time, the rewards will follow. You know, tracking up, speaking to the agents, remaining in their radar, shall we say, is a massive plus from their point of view, because there'll be deals that will fall through. They don't sell everything. And the one thing, when they do fall through, they want to know that they've got a plan B. Be their plan B. So there we have it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed that session. Lots of information in there. Take it, use it, and apply it. As always, if you can, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. As well as that, you want to connect with me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse, all under the handle of Arsh, a.k.a. And finally, as I said at the start, this is sponsored by the Property Investor app. It's the UK's first property investment platform, which showcases all kinds of deals all over the UK. Whether you're looking for that below market value deal, that lease option deal, that service accommodation deal, we've got them all there. Go and check us out. So go to propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, go to the App Store, type in Property Investor and download it from there. As always, I wish you all to be safe, well and happy, and I look forward to speaking speaking to you all very soon. Thank you and bye-bye.